All right, man. We got another edition of Give Me Some Space. This is the sports edition. I got a couple guys in here with me that I know very well. These guys, man. I when I describe these guys, man, they're kind of like they're like the architects for me. When I started the Man Cave Sports Group, like these two guys right here were always there from the beginning. Like I feel like they were very integral parts of where it is now as far as the members that we have in there, and I definitely respect their sports opinions. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Carlos, I'm going to start with you, man. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your sports background, and how did you come to love sports, man?
All right. Well, I'm from Lowndes County, Alabama. Originally I'm staying in Birmingham, Alabama now. Um, just some background on me. I graduated from Central High School, like I said, in Lowndes County. I joined the military around 19 years old. Did 13 years and had to medically retire out. And found my way back. Back home, so to speak. Or close enough to it. When it comes to sports, I've always been big on sports, chasing basketball, doing something, as a kid, I was always active, looking for something to get my hands into. I didn't play past middle school, as far as organized basketball. I kind of regret it. I had hopes of wanting to play at the high school level, but being a young man, with no real direction at home, came from a single parent home, for the most part. So I got the big head early and, let things distract me. So, you know, I got away from some things, but in the military, I got a chance to play organized ball, and that was a big part of, how I shaped myself, how I made a lot of friendships. Because when I joined, I wasn't a very talkative guy, so a lot of guys that got to know me, you know, they only saw me really open up on a basketball court. Because when I was on the court, man, hey, I became a different guy. The
Right, right.
competitive juices got to flowing, and
Hmm. Right.
people got to see sides of me that they wouldn't see in the work environment. And that side of me hadn't come out, man, since middle school. Because I had a coach tell me, he was like, hey, you cursing guys out there? Because I would score and turn around and be like, I would tell the guys, in a lower voice, hey, you can't effing guard me.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And, so I had to rein some things in. But once I joined the Army, man, a lot of that stuff started to come out, through sports, whether it was flag football, basketball, or whatever the case may be. And then, and I think when I met you at Lifetime,
Yeah,
on the basketball court,
that's right.
and the friendship started from there, you know, evolves into other things, which now, I consider a lot of you guys, like brothers, and being in the man cave with some of you guys, man, has just helped me kind of, even though I don't play as much anymore, it's kind of helped me keep those flames going for wanting to compete, whether it's
Right.
competitive talking, when
Yeah,
it comes to trash talk or whatever the case may be.
right. I feel you, man. I feel the same way. Yeah, we did meet at Lifetime on the court. We ain't gonna talk about the results today. We're gonna leave that private.
Oh man,
Yeah,
hey, I'm a couple years older than you, but
Hey, that's
hey,
another
I know when
that's
I
another
first got to
podcast.
Lifetime, hey, when too many guys holding me on that court when I first got there.
I feel you, man. I feel you, man. It was some great battles, man. What about you, JJ, man? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into sports, man. Tell us a little bit about it.
Man, well, for the folks at home, my name Jeremy Russell, nickname JJ. That's what everybody know me as, and from Bibb County, Alabama, down here in the small country part, right below Tuscaloosa and Centerville and Brent, and teaching and coaching high school now. Back in my old high school, this is my 10th year back at home. Um, like I said, graduated from Bibb County High School, went on to play at Wallace Selma for 2 years, then transferred to the University of Montevallo, played another 2 years. And like I said, and what's crazy, when I got done, when I transferred to the University of Montevallo, I wasn't going to go into athletics. I was going for business. And so when I got there, when I got to playing on the team and everything, we had a kids camp up there that summer. And I got to be involved with the kids and mingling with them and showing them how to do things and all that. And then that fire and that love just grew. And I knew immediately right then what it was I wanted to do for the rest of my life and the rest of my career was going to coaching and working with kids and everything. So I flipped my major to kinesiology. And so I got my degree. And when I got done at University of Montevallo, a job opening came up at Bibb County. So I jumped on that. And like I said, 10 years later, still teaching and coaching, helping young kids, helping young minds, trying to, teach them the game of life through the game of sports, which, specifically basketball, which is what I coach. Yeah. And man, it's just been a joy to do it these last 10 years, and going forward. And for me, man, sports is everything. It's like I said before, it's a great teacher of life. And, as far as my competitiveness and my drive, I give it all, to, my two cousins that I had growing up. We were super competitive with each other. And also my middle sister. She was the most athletic, as far as, us in the family. She drove me all the time and everything. And then also, my dad played at the University of Alabama as well. So I had that going as well. And, but definitely my two cousins and my middle sister, man, that's where my drive came from. And just sports in general, played everything growing up, was super active all the time. And I just continued to carry that, with me throughout my, childhood going into my adulthood. And one other particular guy, I talked about it in the other post that you posted earlier with the Give Me Space post. And I posted a picture in there of my head coach in high school, Coach Willie Frank Moore. He was a driving force for me because you know how we have those people that are not our parents, that are not related to us, right, but are still, those pillars of, that person gets me, or that person is who I really rely on, to get through things, and that really, held me accountable for, for stuff all the time. So he was it for me. My high school coach, he really had a way about him to get every ounce of everything you had out of you, even when you didn't think you had anything left to give. Yeah. That was his gift, and he always, did that, not only for me, but countless other kids that he coached. And, even to this day, I carry every last bit of what he taught, us growing up. I carry all that, with me now, and I try to pour every last bit of that into my kids as well, in some way, shape, or form. So for me, man, sports is everything, because, I feel like we can learn a lot, about life through sports. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at on, and that's where I try to approach every day, is just try to, get the most, out of my kids that I'm able to impact each and every day.
I feel you, man. And speaking of that, as far as how life fits into sports, like, do you feel like there's a connection between sports and life? Like, have you like witnessed the difference between a kid who's been involved in sports and how they act in life, and a kid who's not involved in sports and how they act in life? Is there a difference or a disconnect in there?
For me personally, because I can speak from it through both sides of playing in, high school or whatever, and also coaching now, and I think there is a lot of, comparison with that. I think they do go hand in hand, having that structure, and you can see it, it's pretty easy to pick up on it, because like if you get a kid or a person that's got that structure every day, okay, I'm getting up at this certain time, I got to report to this at this certain time, this, that, other, and all that. So they're able to learn and navigate through certain things that go on in sports, and you're able to connect that with life. Like, for an example, certain time, sometimes in the game, you might not make every shot. So what are you going to do? Is there something else that you can do to help the team? You know what I'm saying? You can compare that to a daily, thing in life. Sometimes it might not be your best day. It might be every time you turn around, you're doing something wrong, but it's still a way for you to impact and have a positive impact, on somebody else. You know what I'm saying? In retrospect, it will help you get through that day, even though you're having a tough day.
Right.
So it goes hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? Also, being able to communicate. Communication, we all know that it's a vital, part of life, not only in sports, but in life in general. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it goes hand in hand. And then the last point I would make is being able to handle constructive criticism and not always jumping to the conclusion that somebody is attacking you.
Right.
As opposed to somebody's trying to help you. Because you got a lot of people out there that love to just, hear themselves being built up all the time. They love, to have people around them that'll tell them what they want to hear instead of what they should be hearing. And you got to watch out for those kind of people. You got to be careful with that, because at the end of the day, you're going to face adversity at some point in time. But when you face that adversity, how are you going to deal with it? You know what I'm saying? And how will you go forward and move on and navigate through that? So I think as far as sports, man, it's the greatest teacher of life, I think, that you can have, man, because you got to work with other people. You got to be able to communicate, you know what I'm saying, as far as that goes. So I think, for me personally, I think sports is the greatest teacher that you can possibly have out there, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, because the adversity that you get when you're playing sports, you don't get a lot of that in other places. That's one of the first places where you're going to get a chance to see how you react to things. You're going to have different situations as a kid growing up, when you're learning how to deal with other kids and things like that. But when you're competing, that's the first time in your life where you're really going to see, how do I handle pressure? How do I handle, like you said, corrective criticism?
Right.
So many different things happen, when you're competing, that open you up to self, and you'll start to really understand who you are and what you're about by how you handle different situations. Whether you're going to shy away from it, or you're going to come back next time and be like, man, I took an L there. Let me see how I can counter here.
Right.
And that's what you're doing with life most of the time.
Yeah.
You're constantly in flux and having to counter, especially when you're trying to find your path. And if you're not willing to counter, man, you're gonna find yourself running into that screen and not willing to fight to get over. And that's life. It will keep hitting you over and over unless you figure out how to counter. Man, I know he's coming here. Let me roll. I'm gonna take this approach next time. And man, sports gives you all of that.
Right, gives you every last bit of it, Carlos, man. And like I said, another beautiful thing about it, even when even through your struggles, just like life, you always have an opportunity to bounce back at some point. And it's up to you, whether or not you do that. It's up to you, can you take, the tough things that you went through, learn from it, and then come back and bounce back and be stronger for it. You know what I'm saying? So that I love, you done heard, Kobe said, LeBron, all the greats, whether it's beauty in the struggle, and it is. And it's just like, and
exactly.
And the same applies with life. So it's up to you as an individual to try to find that silver lining. Yeah, even through the struggle, you gotta find that silver lining and say, okay, hey, look, let me take a step back, let me reassess. All right, yeah, this didn't go right or whatever, but what can I improve? What can I improve on to get better from this situation and learn from it so that I'm not making the same mistake again over and over again. And again, that's the same thing in life. You know what I'm saying? If you keep, the definition of insanity, man, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So when you face that adversity, when you hit that wall, okay, take a step back, let me reassess and be like, hey, okay, this ain't gonna work, this won't work, okay, let me find another avenue, you know what I'm saying, to get things done and improve. And I just keep moving forward and getting better for it.
And what do you feel like, because sports is like, it's like the first time that you actually have somebody else, like an authority figure over you besides your parents, right? So what did you feel like the first time you had a coach like your first coach to like maybe yell at you, or you got in trouble from a different voice other than someone you're used to?
And I can only, and I'm gonna tell you this, Trap. I can only speak from my experience because everybody, I think, experiences are different. For me, a lot had to do with that because first of all, parent involvement is very key in a good way and a negative way. For me, it was great because growing up, a lot like what Carla was saying, my dad went around a lot, but we still had a decent relationship, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He was there from a sports perspective, but as far as the day-to-day, fatherly stuff, hanging out, doing this, that, and the other, it was only through sports. And one the other side of that's what my mom, she did both very well. So for me, growing up, I had that healthy fear of I didn't want to disappoint her. And I didn't want to disappoint my two older sisters because they stayed on me about everything. Grades, discipline, you know what I'm saying? You name it. So I already had that authority or whatever, or being able to obey or, doing whatever, you know what I'm saying, somebody older than me asked me to do. You know what I'm saying? So if you needed to yell at me or get onto me, if I didn't do something right, I was okay with it because I was already getting that at home. That structure, that, you know what I'm saying, is coming from a good place of I'm pushing you, you know what I'm saying, but when you do something wrong, I'm gonna be on you. It was that tough love.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So when I got into playing team sports, like for the first time, like playing baseball, everybody started out playing baseball or whatever, or youth football or whatever. And when the coach get on to you and yell and scream at you, I didn't shy away from it. I actually stepped up because I didn't want to let my coach down. Okay, he getting on to me for a reason, so I got to step up, and I don't want to disappoint him. You know what I'm saying? On top of that, I don't want to disappoint myself, obviously, but I definitely don't want to disappoint my coach. So I'm going to do whatever it is I got to do to make sure that he approves of what I am, of what I'm doing to fix the problem. So for me growing up, I didn't have not one single issue with coaches getting on to me, chewing me out. I played with a lot of fire, a lot of passion. I mean, you know that, but their competitiveness, but it was never to the detriment of me, you know what I'm saying, going into a shell, or it affected me negatively. It actually helped me because it made me hone in and focus in that much more on the task at hand that they wanted me to do. Because they got onto me for some, whatever it is they got onto me for, I'm gonna zone in and focus in that much more to make sure I do it right so that I can appease them and that I can gain their approval so that I'm not in this situation again.
Right.
So for me, I never had an issue with, that stern or that firm, type of leadership or people getting on to me. I always, embraced it. Like you said, take that constructive criticism for what it was. And I just applied it, man, and took it and ran with it.
Yeah, kind of the same thing on my end. I didn't have my earlier childhood, I didn't have a problem with discipline, until I got a little older. So having someone say, hey, this is what you need to be doing, for me, I was like, okay, this is all about the challenge. I'm going to show you that I can do it. Because at an early age, whenever I picked up a basketball, I felt like, hey, it ain't nothing I can't do anyway. So if they want me to do it this way, I'm going to show them I can do it that way,
Right.
So for me, that's all it was about, if a voice was yelled, was raised at me, for anything, I could shrug it off, that kind of how my mentality was, and it's kind of still that way today, to where not a lot is going to get under my skin, until we if we're competing now, you're gonna hear some things, but coaching, I can take that. I can take the corrective criticism, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think I credit my mom with a lot of that because my mom, she was a rock. She was on me. So growing up, in the country, in a small area, she saw how things were, and as a guy, she knew how I would have to conduct myself, and she would always tell me, you can't let everything, bother you. Because she was like, people are going to try to get under your skin. So I applied that to basketball as well because, life comes at you hard in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
And my mom didn't want me being, on the wrong side of things happening. So she made sure to let me know I had to be able to check my attitude,
Right.
and that
Right.
started with being able to take that corrective criticism.
hmm And a lot of what you just said, Carlo, man, like, man, we two peas in a pod on a lot of this stuff. But like for me, I always had that chip, man. I always had a chip on my shoulder. I was I would say laid back, but when I had to express myself, I would. And a lot of that came from because, like I said again, with my two cousins, we connected at the hip growing up. They were better than me early on in the early years in sports, like in basketball and football. But I had them in baseball, but my love was really for basketball. And it started to grow more and more. But that both of them had me as far as talent goes. And I knew that. So that was always my driving force, was to be just as good as them, or if not better.
Right.
Same with my sister too. And she saw it early on. She always pushed me as well. And she always would really push me to be the very best I could be. And I also had that glaring factor of, my dad playing at UA. And everybody knew that. So again, everybody think you gonna, go that same path, and big shoes to fill, expectation, all that kind of stuff too. So I used all that as motivation. So, to continue to just be the very best I could be, but also at the same time, hey, having that chip on my shoulder with always having something to prove. Nothing was ever, good enough. I'm always hunting, searching for that next challenge all the time. So for me, and like I said, coming from a very small area, you know what I'm saying? Your mom being the driving force with everything, seeing her on a day in and day out, just grind and work and do this and other, and making everything happen for everybody. You had that going as well. And I come back to it again. I didn't want to let my elders down.
Right.
And people that sacrifice a lot for me, because, growing up and even now, I've always been a deep thinker on a lot of stuff. And I always think about, people, bigger than me or bigger than myself. I always think of others and how things would affect them as opposed to my well-being. I'm always thinking about everybody else. I'm always appreciative of everything else everybody else has done for me. So I always want to make others proud. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that always stuck with me growing up. So that made me go much harder for other people, and it really made me appreciate some of the things that I had and some of the, the advantages that I had of having a mom like that, having a sister like that, having two cousins like that. They can really push you, on a day in and day out basis. So I always had that chip, and even to this day, that's kind of, some of the same things that keep me going today as well in my everyday, basis. So.
Oh yeah. And it's important. And I can go back, like I remember going back to fourth grade, like we didn't have a youth league in Vincent. We didn't have one. So I had to go to Shelby County or Columbiana. They had a
Right.
basketball league down there. So walking into, foreign territory, I don't know anybody, my dad is coaching me, and you just picking a random team, and you walk in there and everybody's looking at you like, who is this kid?
Yep.
You having to prove yourself like I belong here. But we lost in the championship that year. But at the same time, like my name got on the map. I got to put myself on the map for my performances, because it's like we got a random kid in here who's coming and dropping 25 and 30 a night, and we don't even know who he is. So
Right.
fast track to the next year, fifth grade, where we start our own league in Vincent. And I felt like that's when I kind of became my own. Like I kind of knew who I was at that point, as far as the game started to get easy for me. Like I could see things happening before it happened. So it was like a self-confidence that you have about yourself when you reach that level. Like I was always the quiet guy. Like I never talked a lot. I would let you talk, but inside I'm burning up.
Yep.
I ain't gonna talk back to you, but I'm burning up.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm like, I know you can't stop me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But just being in that environment, like a hostile environment where you got a gym full of people who's literally cheering against you, because they want you to lose, you know. So I say that to say, like, at what point do you feel like you had it, like you just know that something was there?
For me, man, I would say, um, it's a two-part question. I'm gonna start with baseball first, because baseball and basketball were my main two sports. And then I'm gonna talk about how basketball and football connect. But baseball, when I knew I had it, as far as the mental aspect and everything was starting to come full circle, I would say my freshman year with baseball. Because like I said, that was the first thing that I picked up. That was the very first thing I started playing, because that was my dad played. So for me, it was baseball in the ninth grade. But with basketball, I picked that up, like, as I started to grow more. I think I really started to stretch out and grow around my freshman year with basketball. And then that's when that love grew. But for me, when it really kicked in for me, and when I got it, and you couldn't tell me nothing from that point on, was after my the summer of my junior college first year. When I went through that first year of how it was gonna be from that point on, after that trap, it was a wrap. I mean, you couldn't do nothing, man. I mean, you wasn't gonna outwork me. You wasn't gonna do it. Wasn't nothing on the floor I put my mind to that I couldn't do. It wasn't nobody I wasn't guard. It wasn't nobody I wasn't gonna score against. You could have brought whoever you want to bring in there, and I'm going at them. You know. And so I took that same, mentality mindset into Montevallo, because a lot of people don't know this. When I got to Montevallo, I wasn't gonna play. I had finished my 2 years at Wallace Selma. So I was just gonna go to Montevallo just to go to school, because I had a lot of scholarship money there. I was gonna go to UA, but they didn't have nowhere near as much scholarship money for me as Montevallo did. So I took the most money. So I went to Montevallo. And so when I got there, Tez and Key, they was already there.
Mike, I got the first NIL deal, man.
Yeah. And so Montevallo was in a little influx or whatever during that time. They were shipping players in and out of there. They were like, man, you need to go try out, man. So I said, man, I don't know. So went and tried out, did my thing the whole week, the guys going against guys that he had already signed, like had a couple guys that went to Xavier and all this kind of stuff. And I did my thing. So that first year, I was a walk-on. Didn't have no more scholarship. They were like, if you're gonna play, you got to go this whole first year without, a scholarship. You just got to do it. I said, okay, cool, that's fine. Man, I went through it. I went through that whole spring training, all that, finishing first and second in the 2 mile runs, suicides, 3-man weed, win all these competitive reels and stuff. And I'm a walk on now, and I'm beating guys that you done went out here and went to New York and signed, and went to Arizona and signed these guys. And you got to walk on that and came in here and just outworking pretty much everybody that you got. So I kept climbing the charts and climbing that ladder. And like you said earlier, Trap, that's that inner fire in you. Like, dude, because you already know coming in as a walk-on, man, they ain't thinking twice about you.
Right.
You all down like the tile boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you got to do something to make yourself stand out and gain that respect from your players, but not only your players, the coaching staff too, because the coaching staff thing, he ain't gonna lie. He'll be here or two, and then he gonna go on. That ain't me. If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it 1,000%.
Right.
So that just that chip and just having that fire. Cause like I said, I figured it out after my first year at JUCO. I'm gonna outwork you. If I can outwork you, I got you. Because you're not gonna outwork me. If you better than me, technically on paper, my work ethic and my desire inside of me is gonna level out and equal out whatever talent level you have. And that was my mindset about everything, man. So I just quickly climbed that ladder. And then that next year, man, he called me in the office like, hey, we got you you earned your scholarship, man.
You earned it.
Right. And just grind it out, man. And sometimes just what you got to do. And a lot of these kids today, they got it so easy now, Trap. And that's what's kind of, on one hand, that's what's kind of frustrating. It's not coming from a petty or a hateful, place. It's it's just, I mean, it's just facts, man. A lot of these kids, they got it so easy now, man. If we would have had, like, if we would have had a lot of these resources and stuff growing up like these kids got, you would probably be in Carolina or something like that. You know what I'm saying? All of us would have, you know, just based off of some of the easy access these kids got nowadays. But a lot of these kids, you know, want handouts or want something given to them as opposed to earning it. You know what I'm saying? Or the first sign of adversity, they just want to throw their hands up. Oh, I want to transfer. I want to do this. In some situations, you know, they need to transfer. I get it, but not every time. You know, you turn around or every time something don't go your way.
Right.
You know
And
what I'm saying?
that's what I want to say. As far as what do you think about that, Carlos? Do you feel like the era that we're in now, as far as with social media, do you think that has helped or hurt kids coming up now?
I think it's kind of gone both ways because social media gives some kids that you might not ever see, you know, exposure. You
Right.
know, so it's easier to spot a prospect, you know, these days. Coaches they don't have to get all the way down into the country, you know, where some of us might come from.
Right.
You know, some of these kids, man, they figured it out. They use it to their advantage, and it's great. But then on the other hand, you have some kids, they play the wrong way because they're constantly trying to make that highlight, you know. And when I see a lot of that, that's the part of the game I don't like. And you got certain coaches that become yes men because they see a kid with talent and be like, I might be able to coattail this kid into another position, so I'm gonna let him do what he do, you know.
Right.
And that's the downside of it for me because you got kids they're trying to, you know, get that instant fame or that 15 minutes of fame through social media instead of building a body of work. You know, if you put the right body of work together, social media it's gonna be there. It ain't going nowhere. I mean, we're here. You know, it ain't going nowhere. So you don't have to try to win it all in one filming session. You know, and a lot of these kids are trying to hero ball every film session because they know a camera is on. Let me do something every time down. Because I watched one highlight. This kid might have dribbled the ball doggone for like 3 minutes. You know, I'm like, dude, move the rock. You know? Yeah. You know, and that's the downside of it. Everybody's trying to be a hero, you know, every time they see a camera doggone flash, you know, and that's the side where we've got to rein our kids back in. We've got to teach them that it's not about that. You can't be afraid to build, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
That instant success, man, is wild right now, and that's what social media has put in these guys' head. If I don't flash right away, I fail.
Right.
And I'm not gonna say it lies on anybody on anyone else, but we've got to stop, you know, being so quick when a guy goes out there and perform bad. First thing a lot of us want to get out there and do, man, they trash.
Yep.
You know, and that's what guys are battling against, man. And everybody can't take that. Everybody can't, you know, use that as a chip and be like, you know what? I'm gonna show you I ain't trash. You know, some guys, they get out there and they're trying to fight that stereotype, and that's where we got to be better on our end of it. Like, not just our groups, but just how we communicate it to other people. Because there's other ways to say it versus making it sound like a guy just, you know, he's no good or this, that, or the other. Yeah. You know, because kids hear that and they're trying to fight. They're trying to fight not becoming that. You know, you get what I'm saying? They don't want to be those labels that we give everybody.
Right. And to piggyback off of what you just said, Carlos, man, like I'm right along the same lines as you as far as, you know, how the transfer and all that kind of stuff has impacted, well, social media in general has really impacted today's game and all that. I'm right along those same lines. I'm more the underdog type guy. I'm gonna take a chance on some of those hidden gems out there because over time, I think they are paying out for you better because they're hungrier. You know, like that's why I'm so big. And I'm gonna say it again. Y'all already know I'm finna say it. Ja Morant. That's why I'm so big on that kid, man, because I physically saw that up close and personal. When he came to UA, when they played back his sophomore year at Murray State, I saw that kid for a full 40-minute game, man. I saw everything about him, how he play. I said, I mean, he got next. That kid right there is gonna be a star in the league.
Yeah.
Because of how he played, that chip on his shoulder. He was one of them kids that got passed up on. He too small. He can't do this. He can't shoot. He can't do that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of school passed up on him. And he from the country up there in South Carolina. He grinded out in the summer. He ain't, ripping and running. He ain't on everybody airways and stuff like that. He play on a little AAU team. That's all right. He ain't on no top tier AAU team because you ain't gonna see him every day.
Right.
He out in the backyard with his dad with an old tire, rusted rim, and he just grinding, doing the same thing everybody will do, but he at home in the trenches. He doing that real hard work. And now you look at what that kid has become now. He's taking the world by storm, but he's always had that chip or that fire in him, you know what I'm saying, to prove everybody wrong from jump. And like, you know what I'm saying, like y'all was saying earlier, with a lot of these kids that you see early on that's trying to make these home run with these mixtapes and stuff like that, like just get the kids, man, and it's the fundamentals. Like find your niche. Like find something that you do well and be the very best at that early.
Yep.
That's how you establish it. Like if you good at defense, that's
Play
what you
defense.
need to have on. Be
Play
the
defense.
best. Be the best at Herb Jones. Be the best defense.
Exactly. Perfect example.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. Be the best. Cause look, we bumped heads with them when he was at Hale County. Well, first of all, when he was at Sunshine, when they came to UA in the summer, we had them summer games and everybody, in the summertime they play. And that was the first time Petway them song. We matched up with them the last game of that first day. Had a heck of a game. They beat us. But that game, man, he might have shot the ball. Y'all, he might have shot the ball 3 times. But let me tell you that he had about 20 rebounds, about cellmate steals, about cellmate block. I'm like, hey, that's his calling card. He a defender.
Yep.
And then, like, what stuck out to me was, y'all, like, this is summertime, y'all. Man, that kid probably took about 8 charges that game. Who in their right mind taking charges in a meaningless summer league game? You know what I'm saying? So that kind of stuff like that stuck out there. Like, that kid get it. He get it. He gets it right.
Oh yeah, it was a part of his DNA. You know
what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's who he was.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like I say all that to say this, like whatever your niche is or whatever that you do best, find that niche or find what you do best and be the very best at it that you can be in order to get yourself where you want to be. Then you got time to work on everything else. Because like you said, you're trying to get everything so quick, you don't have to do that. You got time. Just get yourself where you need to be. Then once you get there, you can start adding everything else. It ain't got to be this all-world mixtape. When I put the film on, okay, all right, I can zero in. Okay, I know what that kid can do right there. He can play defense real well. Oh, yeah, I know what he can do. He can rebound real well. Or he can pass the hell out of the ball. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So it ought to be something. When I pop that film on, it's got to be at least something that I can say, hey, that right there, that's what that kid do very well. And then you got time to piece everything else together.
Right. And I think that goes into, like, I know when we was coming up, like, And1 was real big, right? Like, it was the And1 Street, mixtape tour. It was all about that. So what's the bigger influence on kids' games these days? Is it more of who they watch or who they play against as far as, their teammates, their peers, or is it more NBA? Like, who's the bigger influence on kids?
I think the NBA right now is in that spot to where
absolutely
popularity-wise, they are influencing kids because right now, everybody trying to be Steph. You got kids that are out there trying to have Steph game, but they're not showing Steph's work.
Right.
Right. They ain't showing them him
the work ethic has to be there.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And see, and that's where we at now. In this era of ball, obviously positionless, spread out. Everybody 5 out. You got big man that shoot 3, Jokic and Embiid. And again, I love all it, and it's great. You know what I'm saying? But like Carlo was saying, like you were saying, Trap, we're in the era of the three ball. You know what I'm saying? The step back three with Harden and all these new dribbling moves. You know, you don't know half the time whether it's a travel or a carry or whatever. You know, it's just so, innovative now to the point it's entertaining, but to a lot of like some of us to some degree, especially old heads, a lot of them turned off from it too, because it's so far away from what the game or whatever they feel like it should be.
Right.
You know, it's entertaining.
Right, and that's to me, that's the misconception that a lot of older guys feel like, right, they feel like the skill and the IQ level of the game is off. But to me, when you're watching the skill and IQ level, I feel like those aspects are still there. You have to understand now who you are on the floor, right, because now everybody can shoot. You're not just putting bruisers on the floor.
Yeah.
Because teams back then were built where you at least had 2 bruisers on the floor to discourage guys from coming to the basket. I just watched a documentary on Detroit the other day, and it was like their main thing was, we're gonna have it in your head to where, do you want these 2 points or do you want to be hurt?
Right.
And to me, there's no skill in that.
No.
Intimidation. If you're going to intimidate someone, do it through skill. I should be afraid of your defensive ability. I shouldn't be afraid of, man, if I get in the air, he's going to take my legs from me.
Right.
Exactly. So you can nitpick different parts of eras, but to me, we see so much skill today that coaches struggle with how to utilize it all. And I think that's why we get so many possessions to where things might look out of sorts, because you got so many guys can do everything. It's just not it's not as orchestrated, because back then you knew John Stockton was going to bring the ball down the court and he was going to get you into whatever set you needed to be in.
Right.
Now you got Joker doing that.
Right.
The game is just in a different space.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You
got Joel Embiid telling guys where to go.
Yeah.
Get out the way.
From the top of the key. And they usually on the block.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now they doing it from the top of the key or from the wings or whatever. That's a different look. And it's flip-flop. You got a center that's directing traffic now as opposed to a guard. Or you have a center guard pick and roll instead of a guard pick and roll, guard center pick and roll. Right. So that throws your whole, complete defense off track as far as your coverages and where you need your drop points and all that kind of stuff. So it's a different way. Like I said, the game is going to continue to evolve. I love it. We all do, and that's what it should be doing. It always should continue to evolve. But to answer back to your question earlier, Trap, with the kids nowadays, like Carlo was saying, definitely they really take out and emulate the NBA now, more than ever. Like I said, because we're so much into the social media era now. Every time somebody blink, it's out there on Instagram, on this and that, so they see everything. And I don't really see a lot of these kids nowadays really locking in or honing in on college, watching college basketball. Maybe a lot of that has to do with them being so, quick to the league, being one and done so much, you know what I'm saying? And, they go 1 year to whatever team, then they out of there. So it ain't really nobody they can really attach to in college. So what's the next one up? It's going to be the NBA. So they just go straight to the NBA guys and really try to emulate them, which I would rather a lot of them really watch more of the college game, because it's more fundamentals, it's more that kind of stuff. And then once they get to the league, it is what it is. At that point, you got time to hone your skills and all that. But I watch, just like y'all do, I watch a lot of college ball than I do more so the NBA games. The only time I really watch the NBA game, like the big key matchup, like if it's Boston playing the Lakers, or if it's Boston playing Memphis or Golden State. Of course, we're gonna watch them games, but I really try to, watch these college games and stuff like that, see what kind of sets they run or why they ran this and how did this kid get open on this particular play, and watching some of the kids that are coming into the upcoming draft, how they're playing and how they gonna project out. you know, on the next level, like Chet, Banchero, Juzang, all them kind of guys, see how they playing now as opposed to how they'll probably project out in the league. So a lot of these kids, like I said, I mean, we just in that era now. Is Curry, is Harden, is Braun, is, you know what I'm saying? And it's good for the game, but you know, where these kids at now, man, they all about the NBA now. So
Oh yeah, that's a fact. So I know both of y'all pretty well. So, you know, I gotta ask, you know, um, Kobe or LeBron?
Well, for me, you know, for me, it's LeBron. You know,
yeah,
I loved early years Kobe. You know, when he and Shaq were together, the years they spent apart, I kind of grew sour on Kobe's game just a little bit, but he kind of won me back over. You know, once Gasol got there, because it was more of I can play with somebody now. You know,
Right.
that's the part of his game that I felt like was missing once he spent that time away from Shaq. He did a lot of things that I didn't like to see from him, because I don't like the high volume guys. You know,
Mhm.
I like the guys that kind of I can get mine, but I'm gonna help the others get theirs. You
I
know,
got you.
and I didn't see a lot of that prior to Gasol getting there. You know, now he still went, you know, high volume Kobe with Gasol there, but
Mhm.
you know, that's the part of LeBron's game that I appreciated from the start. You know,
Uh,
watching him as a junior in high school, you know, was when I started watching LeBron, and his ability to facilitate and make sure teammates were involved, even though he was a special talent, you know, that impressed me. And he's never strayed away from that. And on top of that, I feel like the amount of pressure that he came into the league with. Because when people started calling you the chosen one as a junior in high school,
yeah.
there's a lot to live up to. And one AAU guy, I can't remember his name, but he's a big AAU, he's big on the AAU scene. He said LeBron, his sophomore year of high school, he said LeBron could be the GOAT. Tell me how many guys surviving that. You know,
Yeah.
there's a kid that came out of Cleveland a few years before LeBron. All they did was mention him as a possible top pick in the draft, and kid fell off the map. I can't remember his name, you know, but you know, pressure affects everybody differently,
Oh, for
you
sure.
know. But for
yep.
me, it was all those different aspects of LeBron that has made him, you know, stand out to me. Because a lot of guys, they would develop that it's all about me mentality. And
Mhm.
LeBron, his stature, he could easily from day one have gone out there and said, I'm going to lead the league in scoring, you know, as much as possible.
Mhm.
But just his ability to stay within himself, not give in to the social media age, because I know he hear it. Hey, LeBron, take over. Hey, LeBron, you're scared to do this in the
Yeah.
closing moments. Hey,
Yeah.
LeBron, you know, you're
True.
not this guy or you're not that guy.
Right.
And he's never conformed to be what everybody else wants. And, you know, I appreciate that. Not saying Kobe did, but that's what the difference in their games is why I chose who I chose.
I got you. What
Respect.
about you, Jeremy? I know, but you know what
Yeah.
you think?
Well, yeah, y'all know where I'm at on it, man. Much love, much respect to Braun, but y'all know where I'm at with the mama. That's my guy, and that's who I'm gonna ride with. And like I said, I got a ton of love and respect for Braun and everything that he's accomplished and gonna continue to accomplish in these next few years before he really hang them up. But for me, Kobe gonna be my guy. You know, just for the simple fact or just that mentality that he had to never be denied, never leave no stone unturned, just relentless in the daily, day in and day out, you know, approach of just attention to detail. I mean, that dude that's relentless, man, and just spot on every freaking thing. You know what I'm saying? As far as what a competitor stood for, what a competitor was, it's just that drive to be the very best and to get the most out of yourself in whatever professional career that you know what I'm saying, that you chose to do. Because you can obviously tell when he hung him up, man, he gave absolutely everything he had to the game.
Yeah.
That amount of sacrifice to continue to come back from this injury, that injury. I mean, how many people on the planet Earth you gonna see blow their Achilles out and just walk off the floor? Like, I mean, that kind of mental fortitude, that mental aspect.
I couldn't do it. I tried.
Like, that's crazy. Yeah, and I know you know all too well, but it's just crazy, man. That kind of mental toughness, that kind of mental edge that you gotta have to do something like that. Not only walk off, but you make both free throws, man. Then you walk off. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's another thing I got with it too. Like, I feel, obviously, he took a lot after Mike, because that was his guy. A lot that was his dog or whatever. LeBron kind of mentioned it the other day that he kind of took a few things from Mike as well. Who didn't? You know what I'm saying? Really, really hit different with Mike because they was around the same time, kind of clashing early when Kobe really started to pick up steam and he really started challenging Mike, for that position, and he really respected Kobe for that. So he kind of took him on his wing. And I think Kobe gets a lot of flack for emulating Michael so much, and kind of takes away, from his luster of being mentioned in that all-time, debate, which he should be in that debate. But they hold it against him I think a lot of people do, because he was so much like Mike. And I get it, but at the same time, to me, in my opinion, it's simple for me. It should be celebrated more than it should be, knocked down, because he was the only one that was able to do it, or the closest to it.
Right.
Everybody that was trying to do it and trying to emulate didn't get nowhere near. But he almost did.
He took his game to another level above that also.
And you know what I'm saying? And not only, like I said, he got the three with Shaq or whatever. I get that. But it wasn't like he was playing second fiddle. He held his own in them three.
Yeah.
He wasn't averaging 15 points or what. No, he was up there in the 30s and high 20s right along with Shaq. Like the Pacers series that he saved him from when Shaq fouled out and all that. So you had key moments where that kid had to step up based off of some of Shaq's, shortcomings, and he had to overcome that. And then, with Kobe's, mindset and his work ethic, he pushed Shaq on out the door, because he started to see Shaq wasn't really driven like that. Shaq was starting to kind of ride the coattail of Kobe, because he was the hard worker, the overachiever and stuff. And Shaq was like, I'm going to just coach. I'm going to let you do it. Kobe was like, nah, your ass going to work and you going to go, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when that happened, everybody wanted to side with with Shaq, because he was a more laughable and jokey, kind of personality. Kobe was stern. He could be a hard ass at times. I get that, whatever. But he was a guy that was gonna put his head down and go to work. So he had to, not only did he have to live up to those expectations, just like Bron had expectations, Kobe did too, especially when Shaq got up out of there, because the notion was gonna be, oh, he can't do nothing without Shaq.
Right.
Kobe had that driving force too. Like, okay, I'm finna show y'all I can't my own team. He went and got two by, technically by himself or without Shaq. So for me, man, that dude, he was just, for me, because I got to see the second half of Mike's career, growing up. Cause I was born in '88, so he was right around that time. I really didn't pick up basketball for real till about mid-90s.
Right, 95, 96.
Yeah, see, that was right along the time Kobe first got in the league, and that was like second part of Mike's career then. So I picked up that second half, which was great too. But to kind of see enough of Mike, and then to get somebody else to come right after him that's a lot like him, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what Mike really was like early on. But this kid is that then some. He got a little bit more flair, a little bit more pizzazz about him. Yeah, he got a bit more to him, and that's why I always gravitated towards Kobe, so much like I did. You know what I'm saying? And even then, early on in his career, he was a villain. A lot of people didn't like him. Yeah. He was flashy, arrogant, cocky, whatever you want, whatever you want to call it. But for him to, accomplish some of the things that he accomplished in his career, man, to be still talked about and revered and admired the way he is, the way he was with his kids and everything. And man, I just think back to, when he passed, it was that Sunday. We had a Sunday practice, man. I just fell apart like my mom and dad passed away, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just sad, especially how they went out. You know what I'm saying? But that dude right there was it for me. And like I said in the group too, the top 3 all time for me always gonna be Mike, Bron, and Cole, bro.
Yeah.
Gonna be the 3. You can toss them around how you want to, but them 3 though, for me, don't nobody go before them 3. And that's just where I'm at on.
And I couldn't do you know, any type of sports talk without mentioning Kobe, because like I was when Kobe first came in, I was more of an AI guy. Like AI was my guy.
Right. Yep.
But I feel like for guys who come in like that, like especially the ones that are kind of cocky and arrogant, you know, they have to raise their game to a level where they can actually back it up. If not, it's just like, okay, you just all talk. You know what I'm saying? So I applaud those guys who actually can back up that talk and go to another level. And I think that's what actually pushed Kobe into that Mamba mentality phase, was because it's like so many people talking at him like, you think you MJ, you really ain't like that, you know. Then Shaq left, and it's like, okay, now you still can't get it done by yourself. And I think it just fueled him to a point where it's like almost like a desire to just prove everybody wrong. Like no matter who you throw at me, no matter who you line up on my team, like you gonna get me though. Like y'all gonna feel me. We might lose by 20, but I'm gonna have 50.
Right.
Like you gonna feel me, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's just a testament to like that Mamba mentality, like how it carried over into your everyday life. Like no matter what, like no matter what's going on around you, no matter where you working at, no matter what you're going through, like you still gotta show up.
Yep. Absolutely, man. And like I said, it's just that moniker alone, man. Like you said, we all can take that into our daily life. And that's what he said, you know what I'm saying? It's like what he said when he was living, it was like, my mentality just ain't sports. It's just everyday life. Whatever your profession is, you wake up and you be the very best version of you every single day. You know what I'm saying? Don't leave no stone unturned. Attention to the details, you know, day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like that's basically all it was, man. Just being the very best version of yourself, you know, each and every day, man, and just going to get it and just staying, you know, staying that attack mindset all the time, man. And just getting the very, you know, just getting the most out of yourself.
Right.
You know? And like, you know, when he had them scoring runs, man, like that's just ridiculous, man. All them 50-point straight games and stuff like that. Like, people don't understand, like, man, even like when Kobe did it, Mike, Bron, KD, like the mentality you gotta have to go from game to game. Like you got back-to-back thrown in there. You dropping 51 night, then you turn around next night, 53, 55, 65, 41, 48, 52, 50, like back-to-back games, man, and just.
And you know, you taking everybody's best shot, like every coach, like their game plan.
Oh, no doubt.
You mentally drained, you tired, you know your legs tired. It's back to back. It might be a swing game, like a swing coast game, like you go from one side of the United States to swing all the way over to the West Coast, or you go from the West Coast to the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? Or you go all the way from New Jersey and you got to go all the way down to San Antonio or something like that. It's just the travel, you know, the wearing on the legs, the mind, the body. And for them guys just to lock in and just zone in like that, to stay locked in for that amount of time, for them a period of time, it's just crazy, man. It really is.
It is. Because you got to get to that
oh,
point.
Yeah. Hey, you throw those numbers out there. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
Now, I was just going to say, we're mentioning those numbers, those guys going out there having those consecutive games of dropping, you know, however many points or whatever. Do you know how great you have to be for people now in this day and age to start to disregard your numbers? You know, that's where we are now. Guys want to take the numbers that are being put up and be like, well, it don't mean anything. You know? And that's greatness in itself.
You up there nitpicking. First of all, shit, you guard him. Can you guard him?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like, you know,
bro. These guys doing this with nobody
you can't
else
take away from those
team.
guys' greatness.
Like nobody else is, like most of the time they don't have any help like that. Like to be elite every night when you know you take the other team best shot and you can't look over your shoulder and get some help from a guy on a consistent basis.
They got a scout report, they got the blueprint on you. We not letting them do this. he not going to this. We gonna push him to this spot. We gonna take this away. We taking their right hand away. We taking their left hand away. We taking the baseline drive away. You know what I'm saying?
Every time he touch it, we doubling.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We gonna make Smush Parker beat
That's
us.
a part of when I mentioned LeBron, there's a part of LeBron's game that I like. I watched an interview with Tayshaun Prince, and Tayshaun Prince, as much as he was praised for his individual defense, he basically said LeBron was going to show you how bad your team's defense was, because he was going to find those guys in spaces and he was going to make those guys help him, whether you wanted them to or not. LeBron was going to find guys because he knew your rotation.
Right.
You know how much work that goes into knowing the other team's rotation?
Right.
That's a student of the game right there.
Yep. Bron played chess, not chess.
Exactly. So when people want to put down what these guys do, man, I have a hard time hearing that. I'm like, it takes a lot of man hours to understand when I'm doing something that they're gonna rotate certain ways, and I know how to beat you, whether I get it done myself or I make the correct play.
Right.
And for years, LeBron got criticized that what they say, he's afraid, he makes the right play because he's afraid to make the play himself.
Yeah.
To me, that's one of the dumbest basketball arguments you can make. To me, the right play is never going to be the wrong play. Even if you take the shot when the right play should have been a pass, if you're the guy, it's still, to me, the right play.
Yeah.
But that's a different conversation. But to be willing to pass is a trait that people have to respect more.
Oh,
it's
for
true.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And I would say, in closing, because I'm always like, I think we're in a position now where it's very important for us to like give back, to try to help those kids coming up now, understand exactly, what it takes, or, how they may be falling off. So Carlos, I'm gonna start with you. Like, what would you tell that kid who's, they may be at home right now, they may be, they want to hoop, they may want to play any sport, but they're not just fully invested, or they don't really know exactly how to flip that switch to just become better. Like what would you tell that kid to like tell him something to make him better, him or her better?
Well, it starts with the work, and that's where you have to be. It ain't no way around that. I heard one guy, he says, he would lead off in a speech. He would be like, ask the audience, practice makes what? And they all respond, perfect. And his answer would be like, no, practice makes better, and you don't get better without putting in the work. And any kid that thinks that they're gonna, magically wake up one day and have college talent or NBA talent, they're kidding themselves. And my talk is gonna be finding the mindset to match the work ethic, because those things have to link. You can have the drive of a person that wants to make the league, but if you're not willing to go out there when your body starts to moving and starts to sweating, you got to be willing to keep going. Most people, once they're met with some type of physical resistance, oh, I'm done.
Yep.
Yep.
And that would be my message to a kid. If you can get past that hurdle of the physical challenge and grind each and every day, it might not get you there, but it'll create a path for you, because getting there is going to be all about how you continue to work, but that's where I would leave it. Just letting helping that kid understand that the work and the mindset have to link.
Good. What about you, JJ? What would you tell that kid, man? How would you help him out?
Man, like a lot of what Carlos said, and the biggest thing with me will probably be consistency. Just being consistent in your work and being consistent in, your day-to-day work ethic, your mindset, and, more importantly for me would be attention to detail.
Because if you got attention to detail, that sets up your foundation, and then your foundation will always be there no matter what stage or what age you get to in life. Your foundation will always be solid and always be there no matter how old you get. You know what I'm saying? So that would be the biggest thing for me, and just having tunnel vision on what it is that you want. You know,
Right.
if that's your aspiration, that's your dream, then you go for that and go for it every single day and block out all negativity that's going on around you, because you're gonna have it. But what you got to do is be strong-minded enough to use that as fuel for motivation to continue to do better, to continue to put in the work. Because at the end of the day, if you continue to put in the work, it will equal result. It will equal result. Because, last time I checked, Steph Curry didn't end up being Steph Curry. Steph Curry didn't wake up being Steph Curry. Steph Curry had to work. Mike Jordan ended up being Michael Jordan. Mike had to put in the work. LeBron wasn't LeBron. LeBron had to put in the work. Same thing with Kobe, all these greats. So you got to put in the work, you know what I'm saying? So those days or those times to where you don't want to do it, that need to be the time you're doing. Because I guarantee you there's somebody in the world somewhere else doing what you need to be doing today. You don't want to do it. And that's where you get better at, you know what I'm saying? So them days you don't feel like doing, hey, you got to go get it in, man, because that's what's going to separate you. It's that little stuff. It's that extra. It's that attention to detail and wanting to push yourself, even on those days that you don't want to do nothing. You got to be able to outwork, the next person that's right there with you or ahead of you to get where you want to be. So it's just that grind, that everyday grind, mind over matter. If you set your mind to it, your body going to follow,
Yeah.
Keep that same aggressive mindset on a daily basis, day in and day out. I mean, the results gonna take care of itself.
That's a fact, man.
Right. One last quick note.
Yeah.
Just understanding who you are, because you got a lot of kids, how we mentioned earlier, watching social media, trying to emulate. You can't get there trying to copycat. You got to figure out who you are.
Find it.
That's the only way. That's got to be it. If you don't know who you are, you're going to fail trying to be somebody else.
That's right.
Find your lane.
Yep, and like I said, I think Trap said it a couple times. A couple things the other day when he made a post too about being yourself, man. Yourself, being you and being who you are, it's enough. I promise you, it is enough. And I think with this younger generation that's coming up, the sooner they come to grips with that, or the sooner they accept it and stop trying to impress, people or trying to be somebody that they're not. Once they get comfortable with their own self or being comfortable in their own skin, who they are personality wise and all that, character wise and all that, once they accept that fact and accept who they are genuinely, then the sky the limit for them. Because now they're not, insecure, they're confident in everything they're gonna do, and now they can continue to grow.
For sure. You gotta, I like all that. You gotta be yourself, man. Like all them things y'all said, work ethic, mindset, consistency, being able to put the grind in, just being hungry, man. Like how bad do you really want it? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let nobody turn you away from your dream. If you're gonna put the work in for it, like you work for it. You work for it. It's gonna be people out there that call you crazy. They're gonna tell you that you can't do it, you can't make it. Just follow the blueprint. The blueprint already been laid out.
Right.
It's already been laid out. All you gotta do is find your lane and do it, man. That's all you gotta do. Man, guys, look, man. I appreciate y'all, man.
We appreciate you too, bro.
Oh, I appreciate you having me.
Man,
Yes,
I appreciate the conversation, man. We definitely gonna have to do it again, man. We're gonna have to do it again.
Man, it's always good.
No doubt.
Oh, man.
Man, that's been another edition, man, of Give Me Some Space. This was the sports edition, man. I appreciate my guys, man. Carlos Sell and Jeremy Russell, man. I'll get with y'all next time, man.
Yes, sir. God bless y'all, man. Love y'all, boy.
Yes, sir.